by the blood of our people are your lands kept safe.
I see in your eyes the same fear that will take the heart of me.
So do all who live to see such times.
By all that you hold dear, this good earth.
There's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got something a little bit different today. We've stumbled upon this article, and just the title alone, we thought we would blindly react as we read it and see what it's all about. So, here we go. Sauron's 10 greatest accomplishments in the books. So, do you want to take us away with the first one?
Yes, Sauron fooled Celebrimbor. The Second Age was when Sauron truly came into his own power and successfully manipulated the various factions of Middle-earth. The most surprising person to fall for his lies was Celebrimbor, the greatest elven smith since Fëanor. Celebrimbor was tempted with the knowledge that Sauron promised and allowed the being he knew as Anatar into his councils. This enabled Sauron to forge the 9 rings of men and the 7 rings of the dwarves. It also made his eventual attack on Lindon and Eregion much easier. Then he killed Celebrimbor, destroying the last great elven smith.
Wait, is this accomplishments? I mean, I guess in a way he's showcasing his power, but I wouldn't say this is a great accomplishment. This is kind of... I guess we're using great in a different way than I was...
Maybe Celebrimbor should have been harder to trick, so being able to deceive him was an accomplishment.
Yeah, no, I just was expecting... I don't know. I was expecting something a little bit different. I was expecting, like, good things. But here we go. Next one.
The 10 policy that he managed to get passed in his first term of office.
Yeah, I was expecting, like, he passed, like, healthcare or something. So we got Sauron's return, transformed Greenwood the Great into Mirkwood.
He built the aqueducts.
So this one, Sauron's return to form turned Greenwood the Great into Mirkwood. So Sauron lay low during the first millennium of Middle-earth's Third Age, regaining his power and biding his time. And then in the year 1050 of the Third Age, he and the Nazgul made their way into the south of Greenwood and raised Dol Guldur, the Hill of Dark Sorcery. From there, Sauron's influence spread throughout Greenwood and transformed the forest into Mirkwood. So I'm confused by how this is great. I'm just, it doesn't seem that. I mean, it seems like almost like an accident that happened because of their actions.
Yeah, Sauron killed Gil-galad and left the elves without a high king.
Oh my god!
After the tumult that affected Noldor in the First Age, Gil-galad was made High King of the Noldor and reigned longer than any of his sires. Like many in the Second Age, Gil-galad did not take the threat of Sauron seriously until it was far too late. So the story, so far, the show is following the book.
I just wanted to say that.
which meant he lost Eregion to Sauron. Eventually, Gil-galad would bring the last of his forces to Mordor alongside Elendil and the last of the Númenóreans. The long siege of the Black Country culminated on the slopes of Mount Doom, where Sauron killed Gil-galad and Elendil. The death of Gil-galad would break any unified elven power in the Third Age, ensuring that Sauron only had to deal with kingdoms of men instead of the united elven nations. Really? So the elves couldn't unite again without Gil-galad.
I guess somehow Elrond and Galadriel don't like each other. No, they do. That's what's so weird. So I just don't understand that. But yeah. So Sauron escaped the War of Wrath. Middle-earth's First Age was full of climactic events, but the War of Wrath was by far the most destructive. The final battle between the forces of Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, and the Valar destroyed the entirety of Beleriand, forcing the surviving elves and men to migrate south. Morgoth was thrown down and imprisoned outside the circles of the world, and Sauron asked for pardon. The Valar trusted the honey-tongued trickster as they believed that Sauron was more like one of them and would regret his master's rebellion. This allowed Sauron to escape. The Valar left the matter closed and departed Middle-earth, still believing the lies he told that enabled him to survive. So, it's interesting because has Halbrand showcased that aspect? I don't think he has, at least not to the extent I was expecting him to. I was expecting him to be a lot more persuasive, and while he does seem to carry himself in a certain way, he doesn't really convince people to do a lot of things other than forging those rings. He kind of talks his way into helping out make the rings. I guess you could argue, if you wanted, that he was like trying to trick Galadriel into forcing him to go with her back.
No, I don't think he did that.
I don't think he did either, but like I'm just trying to figure.
Unless he's so deceptive that he deceives the audience.
He is playing like 4D chess, and we're playing checkers over here.
No, like the one tricksy thing you really see him do is on Numenor when he buys them all drinks and then he steals the pin from the guy.
Yeah, but then they catch
that
immediately, and then he's not able to talk his way out of it. He has to fight them.
True.
So I don't really know why he hasn't been. I would have expected, like, if Halbrand was going to be Sauron, I wanted to see him be a bit more than what he appeared, and instead he just hit it very well, I guess, is going to be the answer that people are going to tell me. Sauron was such a good actor at pretending to be a nobody that, he didn't do anything and just kind of wandered around with Galadriel for a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway. Next on the list.
Sauron constantly tricked men into his service. The men of Middle-earth could be quite powerful when they needed to be. However, the younger race of Middle-earth also found itself at the mercy of the greater powers. Their short mortal lives and lack of great powers left them open to manipulation in many ways, which Sauron used to his advantage. From the first stage to the third, Sauron was an expert at turning men to his cause, whether it was turning the Númenóreans further from the Valar or getting men of the East like the Haradrim to fight for him. Sauron used men against his enemies every chance he got.
Actually, yeah, that is a good point, because this is something that we've talked about, I think maybe last year, like before the show came out, in terms of like the men of the East. We don't think they're necessarily evil just because to be evil. Like, we think that there's clearly something driving them to join with Sauron, and so this kind of explains it in a way that doesn't give them an out, but it at least allows for the possibility that not all these races that we believe to be evil are evil, and they have just been told stuff by Sauron that are lies, but it is driving them to act.
And I guess is that one thing that maybe the mystery is better. We don't really know what they were told.
Oh, for sure. As soon as you say whatever they were told, because it's not magical and it's not going to convince us, as soon as you say it, it loses that. So I think we never find out how he does it. We just like the way you would film it is you have a scene where
you could just have him whisper something.
Yeah, you have Halbrand walk up to the gates and talk to an elven guard, and then he whispers something, and then he lets him through, and we're, as the audience, you're just like, oh, what'd he say? Tell me. But no, you can never say it. You can never.
Because it's always going to be, because boats look upwards and rocks look downwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? That's what the the guard, as they see like Sauron stealing a horse and riding away, and Galadriel's like, "What happened? You stole a horse. What are you gonna do?" You can't just.
He was a really nice guy.
Yeah. He was talking about these cool rings you guys were making, and he was gonna give me one. Okay, so here we finally get to some big deals because you and I literally just talked about this the other day. Creating the Nine Rings gave Sauron his most fearsome servants. So Sauron helped forge the seven rings of the dwarves and the nine rings of men. The seven drove their bearers to ruin, but never netted Sauron any servants. The nine were a different story. The mortal kings of men that Sauron gave the nine rings to were covetous of power and used them plenty, allowing Sauron to take control of them as the Nazgul. And as you and I were discussing, the Nazgul seem overpowered. I know in the movie they don't they come across as strong combatants, but they don't seem impossible to fight because we see how Aragorn is able to fight a handful of them pretty decisively. But in the books, these things are just anyone else going up against one of these things, and there's no chance. Like these things are unkillable, and by killing you, essentially turn you into sort of a ghost form of yourself as well. So like these things are just crazy powerful, and I mean, I'm not sure if this was Sauron's plan all along, but it sounds like it was.
Yeah, and they could have yeah. You think the nine should have just been able to win the whole
Yeah,
war for Sauron.
yeah.
He didn't even need any orcs.
No, like literally, they could have walked into like without any big fanfare. They could just kind of show up in the dead of night, as they did in Bree, and kind of storm into Rohan, storm into wherever, and kill whoever needs to be killed. Like they seem like how are you going to stop that? You can fight against them. It's just Aragorn happens to be one of the most powerful swordsmen in almost all of fantasy. So it's not fair to compare anyone to him. So any random human going against one of these guys, I don't think you're coming out of that alive. So yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if you can pull that meme up I sent you the other day.
Yeah, I'll throw it in here so that people can see it. Because these guys are. I mean, I honestly, this would be an interesting show. Is just these guys as they go around and do their stuff.
Yeah, I have it here on my phone. We can read it. We just have a meme interlude.
All right.
Okay, you have the Witch King. So you guys take your cloaks off, go to Edoras and Minas Tirith, and start slaughtering any royal you see. They can't stop you if you're invisible. On it, boss. Kamul, the halfling pretty much has to pass through Cirith Ungol to get to Mount Doom. Just kind of hang around there till he shows. What are you gonna do, boss? Well, I have a sword that creates new Nazgul every time I use it, so I'm gonna head out of Minas Morgul and stab like 10,000 people in a row.
Yeah.
The only thing this meme is missing is one of the Dark Riders being named Theo.
we cut to we go into the shadow world and we see Theo in there. Oh man, imagine if Peter Jackson after the Rings of Power is done and Peter Jackson goes in and alters some scenes to have a character that looks like the characters in Rings of Power in flashback scenes. Ugh, that would oh no. I don't even want to think about that. All right, number 4. Is this one yours? Yeah.
Sauron captured Finrod and Beren. The elves of Middle Earth are quite powerful, but none can match the power of the House of Finarfin. Finrod Falagund, Lord of Nargothrond, was a powerful sorcerer and accompanied Beren on his quest for the Silmaril. This quest took them past Sauron's stronghold of Tol in Garhoth, which Finrod built in the years before. Sauron and Finrod battled with magic songs, but the future Dark Lord defeated Finrod and captured them both. After torturing them for weeks, Sauron finally set his wolves upon them, and Finrod sacrificed himself to save Beren. Finrod's death weakened the elves considerably.
This sounds like a really good show. Like this right here, what you've just described. Unfortunately, we don't get to see any of that.
I don't know. We got some flashback. I don't know.
Oh, true.
We have cast Finrod, but
yeah, that's true. Sauron's destruction of the Elven Kingdom broke the power of the Noldor. Sauron's manipulation of Celebrimbor was only the beginning of his plans in Lindon. He learned the secrets of the Elven Kingdom and exploited them, eventually bringing his Orcish armies in secret to smash all the Noldor settlements in Eregion. Sauron was successful, as he was in most battles he fought, and Eregion was completely destroyed. Yeah, so, I mean, this is the thing, is we only see Halbrand, and so it's really hard to, like, separate Halbrand and Sauron. And just looking at Halbrand, I cannot picture any of this.
no, yeah. Forging the One Ring gave Sauron his ultimate weapon. The lore of Middle-earth is deep and complex, with several events sticking out in its history as watershed moments. The most important moment of the Second and Third Age was Sauron's forging of the One Ring. Taking all the lore he had gained, both as a Maiar of Aule and at Celebrimbor's side, Sauron created his ultimate weapon and the tool of his downfall. The One Ring would go on to define Sauron. He didn't hold it for nearly long enough, but its forging was the accomplishment that moved the powers of Middle-earth like no other. It helped him in many schemes and hurt him in others, but its importance can never be downplayed. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one we're all expecting, because this is the one where you cannot kill this guy properly. You have to kill him and destroy this ring, which in its last moments tempts whoever is trying to do so to such a degree that most could not do it. It's genius on Sauron's part.
But I think the understanding is that he actually isn't even dead at the end of Lord of the Rings with the ring destroyed. He's still like a wispy spirit or something, and he's still not dead though. You can't kill him at all.
You have to trap him.
Saruman's not dead either.
No.
He's also.
But he's got no power anymore.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Like these beings, you can't kill them in the same way that we think of. You have to sort of do what they did to Morgoth and trap them outside of existence, which is getting very metaphysical and maybe a bit more than this kind of joking video is supposed to be. But just in terms of the ring being not only able to control the other rings to some degree, but also allowing you to still have some sort of physical presence in terms of how
but you could argue it was also a failure because it only worked on humans. He wasn't able to control the dwarves.
Yeah, no, he screwed it up.
Yeah. Anyway.
this noob. This spell sucks. Alright. The last one. Sauron's manipulation of Numenor destroyed the most powerful kingdom of men. The downfall of Numenor is another vastly important moment in Middle-earth's history. Ar-Pharazôn's capture of Sauron after the Dark Lord attacked the Numenorian settlements of Middle-earth would prove to be his undoing. Sauron was able to integrate himself with the Vain King, whispering against the Valar and poisoning the people of Numenor more than ever. Sauron even got Pharazôn to attempt to attack Valinor itself. The Valar gave up their power over the world to Ilúvatar, who broke Middle-earth and caused the island to fall into the sea. The destruction of Numenor ended the greatest kingdom of men ever known. So this is interesting because we mentioned
we're gonna
previously.
see. I think we'll see this stuff in season 2. Yeah.
Well, I don't know when. Like, do you think this is season 2? Or
yeah. Well, maybe 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna come. Part of it's going to come up.
Yeah, I think it's definitely got to come before the end. I don't think you can end the show with this, but are we too early in? Like, there's 5 seasons, and I'm trying to think what else is going to happen.
Yeah.
But what I will say is interesting here is this mention here that Farazan captured Sauron. Now, I've heard some people talk about this as if like Sauron did this deliberately. I think you even mentioned that a couple times, where like Sauron wanted to be captured because it allowed him to.
Because he never would have had the ability to take Numenor.
No, he didn't. Like his orc armies just could not like get there properly. So
Yeah.
the only way to do it would be to do it this way. Well, I guess the other way would to be not get captured and just to disguise yourself.
I regret to announce this is the end. I bid you all a very fond farewell.